And a very warm welcome here to the Barony Hall this morning in a very special occasion where we convert these graduands before us and here on the stage to become fully fledged Strathclyde graduates. A very warm welcome to the families, friends and supporters of our excellent students. I know you come from far afield. We'll mention that later on when we get to speak to you. And to here in the Barony Hall, the jewel in our crown, a place where we celebrate the achievements of our students and our staff, and of course, ultimately, what Strathclyde does to the world, and that is launch fantastic people out into the world to make a difference. On these occasions, we have now and again a special addition to the ceremony. And this morning, I'm delighted to say we'll be honouring a highly accomplished friend of this institution, Dr. Max Nikias, who is the president of the University of Southern California. I did apologise to him for about the weather this morning. We may get some sunshine later on in the morning after the ceremony where we can go and celebrate in more informal circumstances over at the Lord Todd. But you're going to hear a little bit about Mac's professional contributions, his fantastic achievements as a president of one of America's greatest institutions. So we'll do that at the start of the ceremony, and then we'll move to the graduations proper. So I hope, and I'm sure, you're going to enjoy yourselves this morning. And I now will formally declare this congregation open. Thank you very much indeed.
Principal and Vice Chancellor, I have the honor to present Dr. Christosmos Nikias, President of the University of Southern California. And I'm delighted that Mrs. Nikias and his colleagues Bruce Raymer, member of the Board of Trustees of the University of Southern California, and his wife Madeleine are present with us on this auspicious occasion. Dr. Nikias stands as a highly regarded leader in American education, offering a passionate voice that draws on more than 35 years of experience. At USC, he has served as a professor, National Research Center Director, Engineering Dean, Provost, and now President. He's a member of the US National Academy of Engineering, the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, and the National Academy of Inventors. And he has earned numerous prestigious accolades, including the academic leadership from the Carnegie Corporation of New York. Since he arrived in USC in 1991, Dr. Nikias has built bridges between diverse disciplines and programs, having founded 2 research centers, one in digital media systems, funded by the US National Science Foundation, and the other in applied signal processing, funded by the United States Department of Defense. He has also established ties between the university and a large range of influential organizations in government, industry, and entertainment, both in the US and around the world. To advance his vision, Dr. Nikias has led an ambitious fundraising campaign, which, when officially launched 6 years ago with a $6 billion goal, was the largest in the history of American higher education. With that goal achieved 18 months ahead of schedule, he has extended its duration for 5 more years, thereby continuing the university's fundraising momentum. That momentum has seen University of Southern California rise dramatically in national rankings. Last year, the Wall Street Journal and the Times Higher Education ranked USC as the 15th amongst 1,061 American universities, its highest placement ever amongst such rankings. On the West Coast, only USC, Caltech, and Stanford were placed in the top 25. And in terms of staff and student diversity, USC was tied for second place with Columbia among national research universities. Reflecting this rise, the university has recruited transformative world-class academics, including Nobel Prize winners, and has endowed nearly 100 professorial chairs spanning every discipline. These efforts are matched by the university's continued efforts to draw students with diverse experiences. Among its peers, USC is the only university to widely recruit community college transfer students from challenging socioeconomic conditions, enrolling more than 800 each year. And among peer private universities, USC ranks first nationally in terms of what's called the Pell Grant recipients, that is, recipients of US federal grants to students with low family incomes, with 25% of the USC undergraduates receiving such aid. Dr. Nikias has argued for the need to reach students even earlier. USC's nationally renowned Neighborhood Academic Initiative prepares low-income, local underrepresented minority children for colleges. And under Dr. Nikias' stewardship, the number has increased to some 1,100 6th through 12th graders, and today 98% of the program's graduates attend college, and those who are accepted to USC receive a full 4-year scholarship. The success of the fundraising campaign has allowed USC to widen its geographic reach and to increase its financial aid pool to $320 million, the largest in the United States. Today, 2/3 of USC students receive significant forms of financial aid, and the efforts have produced marked results. 1 in 5 of all USC undergraduates are from underrepresented minorities, and 1 in 5 are also the first in their families to attend college. USC educates students from all 50 American states and 127 different nations, with one of the largest enrollments of international students in the US. Dr. Nikias, meanwhile, remains an inspiring mentor of USC students. As the Malcolm Curry Chair in Technology and Humanities, he teaches an undergraduate course on the culture of Athenian democracy. During his tenure at USC's provost, he launched Visions and Voices, an arts and humanities initiative for students. He led the efforts to bring Steven Spielberg's Shoah Foundation Institute to USC and established USC's Stevens Center for Innovation, the university's technology transfer arm. Adding to this growth has been the dramatic accent of the university's medical enterprise, as well as the rapid development of USC's physical space. During Dr. Nikias' tenure as president, with respect to square footage of its 2 campuses, USC has expanded its building infrastructure by 30%, including the opening of the USC Village, thereby making the university fully residential. Dr. Nikias is recognized internationally for his pioneering research on digital signal processing, digital media systems, and biomedicine. The US Department of Defense has adopted a number of his innovations and patents in sonar, radar, and communication systems. He has authored more than 275 journal articles and conference papers, 3 books, and 8 patents, and has mentored more than 30 PhD and postdoctoral scholars. 3 of his publications have received the highest prestigious Best Paper awards. In the light of his impressive list of accomplishments and in recognition of his dynamic leadership in higher education, and with the authority of Senate, I'm pleased to present to you Dr. Christosmos Nikias for the degree of Doctor of Science honoris causa.
I create you Doctor of Science honoris causa. Many congratulations, Max, and welcome to the Strathclyde family.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great to have you.
Good morning, everyone. I am honored, I am grateful, and I'm humbled to be here with all of you today. I salute this renowned academic community for your service to the larger worldwide academy and for your contributions to your disciplines. I have always believed that education is the greatest equalizer of society. Education lifts up the weak from despair, and it teaches humility to the mighty. Education is what allows us to be fully human and to appreciate the full range of human experience in our own life. Education can expand our lives to be as vast as the frontiers of the cosmos and the edges of eternity. Yet, it gives us deep insight into the fleeting moments of our own existence. In recent years, we have seen how suddenly fortunes can change. Venerable financial powerhouses can collapse overnight. Vast treasures of wealth can be erased in a few hours. But the treasures of the mind cannot be erased, ever. Indeed, these treasures allow a person to create and to recreate good fortune in any circumstance. These treasures of the mind allow great institutions, places of useful learning, to endure and to prosper through shared purpose and collective genius. Indeed, the commitment to universal education of the highest quality allows us to illuminate society's path forward during our own uncertain times. This is a great privilege, even a sacred responsibility that traces back to the days of Plato and Xenophon and Aristotle. It is timeless, yet nothing could be more timely. And it involves our ongoing determination to ensure that the benefits of education accrue to all members of society, those with much, those with little, and especially those with nothing, so that all might have an abundance. This allows us, in these times, to be resilient, to be forward-thinking, and to be always optimistic about the future. It is again an honor to be your partner in this work. Thank you. I am truly humbled.
Principal and Vice-Chancellor, in the name of the University and by the authority of Senate, I present to you these students. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy for research in the Department of Electronic and Electrical Engineering, Hana Fadi Omar Al-Trabalsi. Dimitrios Athanasiadis. Malcolm Alistair Barnacle. Chen Guandu. Trusali Prasad Doshi. David Ferguson. Domenico Gaglioni. Kay Sinead Macmillan. Neha Mather. Athanasios Mermingas. Peng Jin Ray. Saman Puspas. Puran Rakra. Petros Savidis. Rory David Telford. Darsana Thomas. Yang Chang. Andrew Thomas Young. Zhao Weizha. For the degree of Master of Science in Electronic and Electrical Engineering, Mosa Ahmed M. Al-Ahmari. Suchita Verma. In Advanced Electrical Power Engineering, Li Jingnan. Li Xuan. Lu Shang. Sirimvas Krishna Ondivulu Radhakrishnan. Dipanjan Paul. C. Tenda. C. Shu. Wang Sini. For the degree of Master of Engineering in Electronic and Electrical Engineering, Ruray Ian McGowan Chalmers. Annie Isabel Craig. Jordan Andrew Dungs. Jonathan Daniel Hodgen. Ryan Jones. Michael James Kelly. Ian Thomas Kiley. Louis Lee. Michelle McRae. Stuart Matthews. Mikhail Borisov Mikhalkov. Amring Singh. Aaron Spence. In Electronic and Electrical Engineering with Business Studies, Mark Fries. Damien Muir. In Electronic and Electrical Engineering with International Study, Gavin Bannerman. Robin Christine Carson. Philip Thomas Clark. Catherine Fairley Colvin. Nicola Easton. Guillaume Gauthier. Jessica Catherine Lydon. Julian Morat. Stuart Mickeljohn. Callum Mortimer. Martin John O'Kane. Ewan Fraser Sharp. Ross Strachan. Laura Ailey Wood. In Electrical Energy Systems, Andrew Ross Wood. In Electronic and Digital Systems, Yanil Carino. In Electrical and Mechanical Engineering, Roxanne Aspin. David Devoy. Connor Graham. Stuart Halkett. Jamie Alexander Hendry. Paul Kirkland. Ian James McDowell. Benjamin Roray McIntosh Michalis. Matthew Patrick Moran. Liam Matthew Quinn. Rebecca Dorothy Ruth Walker. Lucas Alexander Zapochny. Zhang Ziyan. In electrical and mechanical engineering with international study, Brodie Harris Clark. Bruce Michael Alexander Cowan. Paolo Ercolino. Ian Robert George Fleming. Daniel Alexander Kirkpatrick. Declan John McGinley. Fraser Kenneth David Macmillan. Findlay Neil McRae. Ross Morgan. Vladislav Morgan. Matthew Morris. Ryan David Ward. Robert Watson. For the degree of Bachelor of Engineering in Electronic and Electrical Engineering, Chai Sismin. Connor David Fries de la Osa. Fang Zhu Wang. Fu Sinman. Guo Fang Lin. Guo Zhang. Li Jianfang. Li Yuankai. Lin Xiaos. Lu Liang. Fraser William McFarlane. Tian Sujing. Momchil Vasilev. Singh Yenan. Yu Mang Ching. Zhang Xiaowen. Zhu Jiani. Chen Zihao. Utkarsh Dvendi. Gu Yu. Matthew John Hamilton. Ji San Tao. Jing Tian. Jing Yi. Kur Weijie. Li Shijia. Peter Lucas. New Ihan. David John Seaman. Andrew John Sweeney. Tien Sanen. Wang Uquan. Wu Shuhan. Wu Ji. Yu Fang Yuan. Zhang Juin. Yang Shuchang. Zhong Chayao. Zhou San. Zhu Hongfei. Peter John Abram. N. Jackie. Darius Ashuri Taklimi. Andrew Bell. Chai Ifan. Chen Senu. Adrian George Collins. Dong Jin Si. Gong Meng. Guo Senu. Wang Shuleian. David Hunter. Mohammed Atef Abdelhamid Ibrahim LC. Lu Zhu. Terry Christopher McLachlan. Ali Reza Mustafa. Andrew Reed. Lauren Snedon. Charlotte Strang Moran. Ian David Simon. Louis Thompson. Jamie Tortolano. Wang Weiyu. Alexandra Wilson. Sei Ying Na. Yang Bingyan. Zhang Guoqing. Zhang Juchen. Lu Singarei. Chi Wenqiang. Mohammed Ezzat Daniel bin Saiful Barei. Wang Guan. Neil Thomas Wells. Chi Yang. Fan Muwon. Wang Etienne. In electrical and mechanical engineering, Nicholas Scott. Connor Campbell. Colin Raymond Robert MacArthur. Cameron James McCulloch. Callum MacLeod. Michael Fotheringham. In engineering studies, Robert William Dixon. For the degree of Master of Science in Electronic and Electrical Engineering, Ming-Fei Xu.
Well, what a wonderful way to spend the morning, launching people into their careers in the next stage of their lives. Anyway, once again, ladies and gentlemen, let me reiterate our welcome to this wonderful ceremony, a day that none of you will forget. It marks the successful conclusions of years of hard work, and now you've graduated in front of your friends, families, and colleagues. And today we welcome visitors from all over the UK, and indeed all over the world. We're delighted to see you here joining in our celebrations. And as Max made reference to, and as we reflect on recent political dynamics here in Scotland, in the UK, across Europe, and indeed across the Atlantic, it's worthwhile acknowledging the key roles for universities such as ours. And we feel also a great affinity with Max's wonderful institutions at USC, an excellent university that is socially progressive. And boy, do we need that approach these days. Strathclyde is a university where freedom of thought is valued and encouraged, a place that is both tolerant and inclusive, and where people of diverse national, cultural, and social backgrounds come together to enjoy an excellent education and a shared student experience. We benefit from having staff and students from over 100 countries on this campus. This is a socially progressive community, one that is an exemplar for modern society, plural, multicultural, and enlightened. And in that context, it's always a great honour for me to perform the capping exercise. It's a simple but ancient ritual drawn and derived from ancient China and the Middle East to mark personal transitions. And when I capped each of you, it was a formal acknowledgement of your hard work and your successful completion of your degree course. Appropriately enough, Thomas Edison, an electrical engineer and a famous American inventor, said that genius was 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. And I was brought up here in the city of Glasgow in a sunny hamlet called Govan. And it's our town's historical motto, and it's Nihil sine labore, which I didn't know what that meant when I was a kid, but I know what it means now, and it means nothing without hard work. And bear that in mind as you leave us today, and make sure you take that ethos into your future careers. You're smart, you've achieved a lot, but the application of your knowledge and that stickability is going to be important to your future. And today, you've all become Strathclyde alumni. You are the latest of our torchbearers, and many generations have gone before you, so you follow in those mighty hordes. And now, with all that you've successfully come through, and I know you would agree, you would have been able to do it without the support and encouragement of your families and friends. It is fitting that we acknowledge their part in the successful completion of your university studies. Our graduates and the university at large owe them an enormous debt of gratitude. As the first in my own family to have gone to university, as it happens, here at Strathclyde in the Department of Electronic and Electrical Engineering, I know exactly the value of such support, and I'm sure that today's graduates and our university staff would like to say a big thanks to your families, your friends and your supporters for all that they've done to make today possible. Thank you very much indeed. And for our staff too, this is a very important day because your success is ultimately their professional reward. Strathclyde has worked hard to provide you with a high-quality education and a first-class university experience for all of our students, regardless of background. So let me now invite our graduates, our new graduates, to join with me in thanking our staff for all that they've done to support you in your journey and your achievements. Thank you. I'd like all of our new graduates to be aware and remember that we were founded in 1796. So this is our 221st birthday this year. And throughout our history, the University of Strathclyde has remained faithful to our founding principles. We were established, and I quote, for the benefit of all mankind. And we were the only higher education institution in Scotland to be established during the time of the Enlightenment. That's a real distinction for Strathclyde. And we're now driving our strategy forward in that same exciting spirit, making it wholly relevant for the 21st century. Our founder, Professor John Anderson, who was a physicist or natural philosopher as he was called then, had strong links with Benjamin Franklin, the American inventor and academic. Franklin was one of the founders of the University of Pennsylvania in 1751, and the motto there is useful knowledge. And that influenced our founder, John Anderson, and resonates beautifully with Strathclyde's motto of useful learning. And never has this philosophy been so important since our establishment over 200 years ago. And the motto, known by all of our staff and today our students, still defines our purpose as a leading international technological university that is socially progressive, that we make a difference. And across our campus and in the buildings that you'll have passed on your way to the Barony Hall today, our academics and students are developing drugs to diagnose and fight disease and illness. For example, we currently have 2 drugs on clinical trials, and one of our spin-out, Mirinid, has done a multi-million-pound raise to fund the development of drugs to tackle degenerative kidney disease, cancer, and inflammatory disorders. Strathclyde is also producing energy technologies and policy solutions to tackle climate change and to establish a low economy, even in the face of climate change deniers these days. We are revolutionising global manufacturing to help create the 4th industrial revolution, the so-called Industry 4.0. Our students continue their work in Africa to establish water and power supplies and to deploy healthcare systems for remote communities. These students are also taking prosthetic limb technologies to the needy in India. And we are working to inform public policy and national economic strategy. Our staff in the £100 million Technology and Innovation Centre, or the TIC building on George Street, are working with industry on photonics, bio-nanosystems, smart grid solutions and future cities. And we mentioned Thomas Edison earlier on. Thomas Edison called his technical team and laboratories his inventions factory. Well, TIC is our innovations factory. But most importantly here at Strathclyde, we're providing people with the opportunities to transform their lives and the lives of their families. As I referenced earlier, we still attract many first-generation graduates here to the University of Strathclyde. And finally, we try hard to give business and industry the tools that they need to be more innovative, to promote economic growth, and to create jobs and provide us all with a quality of life that is more sustainable and healthy. And these are some of the reasons that we've had a couple of terrific years, an independent recognition of what we do and how we do it. In recent years, we've been recognised at the annual UK Times Higher Education Awards by having prizes such as the UK Research Project of the Year. We were the UK University of the Year, UK Entrepreneurial University of the Year. In November, we received the accolade of having the UK Business School of the Year. And just last night, I know that because my staff woke me up at midnight by phone to tell me that we became the UK University Workplace of the Year, which is fantastic for our staff, and also the Strategic Planning Team of the Year at the Thelma Awards in London. And I think the staff that won that deserve a big round of applause. Every 6 years or so, there's a forensic analysis of the quality of research in the UK. That's done at great effort, and they look at every discipline and every school and every university. And the last report was 3 years ago, so we're in the mid-cycle just now. But as it stands in our last assessments, Strathclyde has the #1 physics department in the UK, 3 in chemistry, 4 in biomedical sciences. 3 of our 8 engineering departments are in the top 3, including electronic and electrical engineering and mechanical. Our business school, #1 for research environment, and we have great social sciences in law, government and public policy, and social work and social care. So the tide is rising, and the Strathclyde boats are all rising with that great achievement, and that's great credit to our staff, our research students, and indeed all of our students. So Strathclyde continues to demonstrate the ability to have disproportionate impacts, mainly through all of you, our graduates. That's our proudest and most highly impactful contribution to society. And that sits alongside the quality of our research and the highly effective ways that we create value and impact through the transfer of our knowledge with industry and public sector partners. And we continue to be a driver for sustainable economic growth, and we have a distinctive role in that national objective. And our universities must continue to be seen as a national investment, not a cost to the public purse. And with an annual Scottish Government investment of around £1 billion in higher education, the sector delivers back over £7 billion worth of value to the Scottish economy. And certainly the achievements of our Faculty of Engineering and the departments in that faculty give me great confidence for the future. And let me give you a few head-edited highlights. The faculty is doing a wonderful job. We were ranked first in the UK for medical technology in the 2017-18 Complete University Guide. Our Professor in Civil Engineering, Professor Becky Lunn, received an MBE last week from Her Majesty the Queen for her contributions to engineering. And to all you female engineers, please note that today is the International Day of celebrating women in engineering. And I shouldn't use the stage to say this, but my wife and I were delighted to find out this morning that our daughter has been placed in the top 50 engineers in the UK at 32, I was told. She was hoping it wouldn't be 50, but we're delighted about that. And that idea of getting women and more diversity in the engineering profession is extremely important. Earlier this week, the First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, was here on campus to announce a £9 million investment to establish a new lightweight manufacturing centre, helping to revolutionise aerospace manufacturing using composite materials, titanium and aluminium for aircraft applications, automobiles and the oil and gas industry. One of our EEE students, Joe Gibson, who was one of our Engineering Academy students and also in the NASA Space School, won the UK National STEM Award. That's a big deal. That he competed against the very best students across the country for his project on future aircraft design. I also heard recently, Dean, that he picked up a personal cheque for £25,000. So we have to have a word with him about sponsoring some research. We'll let him go to the beer bar for a couple of nights. But what a great achievement by Joe. And you should know that Strathclyde's won that national award twice out of the past 3 years. Strathclyde this year has established a new Maritime Safety Research Centre, an industry-university partnership, and the world's first of its kind, aiming at improving safety standards at sea in partnership with the Royal Caribbean Cruise Line and DNV GL. One of our professors in mechanical engineering, Massimiliano Vasile, has had an asteroid named after him. Well, I'm jealous. Asteroid 2002 PX33. Doesn't quite have a jazzy name, but it has been renamed Max Vasile, and it's in an orbit. Well, it says here in my notes, he's in an orbit between Mars and Jupiter. I suspect he was when he was so excited with that award, but fantastic achievement. We've also had a major breakthrough in understanding how brain damage spreads and how it could potentially be limited. And that was world-breaking research involving Michele Zagnoni in electrical engineering. And the study uncovered a previously unknown mechanism in the brain that allows networks of neurons to protect against the spread of disease. And Dr. Camille Clemente, Domenico Gaglione, and Christos Ilodos in mechanical and aerospace engineering were the overall UK winners of the European Satellite Navigation Competition. And just last week, we had 2 NASA astronauts and 2 space technicians on campus for our annual NASA Space School. It was 100 of the most gifted kids that are interested in engineering across the country. And over recent years, we managed to translate about 80% of those enrollees to come into Strathclyde to do engineering. So it was fantastic. And during last week, these NASA people reached out and met with about 2,000 school kids to promote engineering, science, and technology. So this is the exciting context in which you should view your awards today. You're now graduates that place students at the very heart of all that we do. We value education and research excellence, and we support close connections with society at large and the business world. And of course, with regard to internationalisation, the very best universities across the world contribute, collaborate, and indeed compete on the international stage, and we are no different. Our institutional partners include in the United States, Stanford, where we have a deep, long-standing relationship in photonics, now broadening out to energy and policy, with the NYU, where I'm blessed to hold a presidential fellowship, with MIT, and with a growing strategic partnership with Caltech, not least of which in the LIGO project, where Strathclyde physicists were involved in discovering gravitational waves just last year. And we are now building and looking forward to extending our strong links with Max and his team at USC. In China, our links are with Tsinghua University in Peking, arguably number 1 and 2 in China, and the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. And in Singapore, the National University of Singapore and the Nanyang Technological University. And we have a raft of strong partnerships across Europe, which will continue to be important. And we're working hard to make sure those links are solid, even through the uncertainties of Brexit. And our students, of course, benefit directly from that international environment, being part of a university that welcomes and opens their doors to all. This helps them emerge with the necessary skills to help themselves and Scotland play a full part in the world. And our students, very importantly, have been exposed to different cultures and traditions, and they leave here today as global citizens. And as well as having our impact globally, we take our local responsibilities very seriously. I have the honour of chairing the Glasgow Economic Leadership Board, which is trying to revitalise the economy of this wonderful city in the same spirit as the traders, pioneers and merchants had at the end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century, building economic growth but having social inclusion in the middle of that agenda. So we need to build industry, build jobs, but we need to bring our community with us, even those that many of whom are locked away from engagement. So that's the big challenge. And we remain, of course, the leading Scottish research-intensive university for widening access to our programmes, for bringing students in here from some of the most challenged socioeconomic backgrounds. And this year, because I keep an eye on the numbers, just this year we've admitted another 989 of these wonderful young people to get access to a Strathclyde education. And on this stage, just 2 weeks ago, we had our first graduation, which wasn't undergraduates. It was kids aged 5 to 12 who are part of the Children's University of Glasgow. And I have the honour of being the Chancellor of the Children's University. And they were here, 128 of them, with their mothers and fathers, none of whom had crossed the threshold of a university in their lives before. So there was a bit of nervousness, a bit of tentativeness, but we put them at their ease. And these wonderful young people, wearing their gowns, wearing their mortarboards, came along here. There was a 5-year-old, I have to say, it was probably the smallest child I've ever seen in my life. They needed someone to carry the train behind her to get her across this stage. But they left here having had their learning passport stamped. When they go to a night class, they get it stamped. When they go to the museum and galleries with their mums and dads, because we need to educate them too, they get a stamp on their passport. And if they carry a project, they fill it up. And 2 weeks ago, they became bachelor's degree graduates of the Children's University. And if they keep that up over the next 2 years, these kids aged 8 to 14 will be getting PhDs from the Children's University. And my academic staff are going to be challenged when it's Dr. Smith and Dr. Jones that are registering for their first year classes. But it's wonderful. We connect to them. It's meaningful. And it's about Strathclyde pursuing our Enlightenment principles. So if I characterise Strathclyde in 2017, I would describe it as having ambition, focus and momentum, with the necessary agility and commitment to the delivery of our strategy, so necessary to absorb the continuing challenges in our sector and, of course, the political uncertainties that we all face. Universities are anchors in these times of uncertainty, and hopefully we spread an idea of reason and evidence on which policy should be made. And it's a privilege for me to lead this fantastic institution with the superb support I get from my executive team, as well as our broader community of academics, professional services and support staff. And I would like to think that our founder, John Anderson, would recognise what we are doing today as the realisation of what he sought to establish during the Scottish Enlightenment. And we now seek, in modern society, to be an agent for positive change in Glasgow, Scotland, UK and on the international scene. But most importantly, colleagues, I'm certain that today's graduates will have an enormous impact on society and that 2017 can become truly a vintage year. So with that in mind, and as you leave the hall today, you'll leave not only with an award, but you leave with a responsibility. Today's graduates now join our alumni, who number over 170,000 individuals from across the world. So whatever you do with your degree, and wherever you may choose to work, remember that useful learning also should have you applying your knowledge for the benefits of others, making a positive impact for yourselves and the communities that you belong to, respecting diversity, valuing freedom of expression and thought, and reaching conclusions and resolving disputes by reason. These characterise the very core values of your university. So let me finally turn to today's celebration. We are all here to mark the achievements of those who have been awarded their degrees, including Dr. Max Nikias. It's been great to have him here. So on behalf of the university, I would like to extend my sincere congratulations to all of you. I wish you every success in your future careers. Please stay in touch with us and let us know about your progress. Well done to you all, and please enjoy the rest of this very special day. Thank you very much. So, I hope you enjoyed this morning. It's wonderful as we launch our latest graduates. We will, at the end of the ceremony, the stage group will process down the aisle. We would like their graduates to join us, so if the families and friends would then come in behind them, we're going to meet over in the Lord Todd Hall, which is about 100 yards over to the right as you leave the hall, where we can have some refreshments and some chat. So, ladies and gentlemen, I declare this congregation closed. Please be upstanding, and thank you for being here.